really be all that significant. So, again, good stuff going on. Guys playing well. You don't want a bunch of guys going into the off season, just thinking they played like crap for the last month. You just don't. So it's a good spot for them to be in. And it's another interesting one here tonight with a lot of stuff going on.
Well, there was a transaction today.
There was.
And the Flyers have recalled goaltender Samuel Ersson from the Lehigh Valley Phantoms on emergency conditions because Carter Hart is day-to-day right now with a lower body injury.
Aren't we all?
Yeah, I'm day-to-day with a whole body injury. But
general body soreness.
Yes, that's called getting out of bed. And Ersson not going to play tonight. It's going to be Felix Sandstrom. But maybe we'll see Sandstrom come Thursday. I don't know.
Who knows exactly how long this is going to hang around. I'm more intrigued by the guy in the other goal tonight too, to be honest. So that's going to be fun to watch. Canadiens Pregame for the first time in his career will face his dad's former team.
Is Dad in attendance tonight?
You know what?
I'm sure he is.
I would be shocked if he wasn't. This was close to happening at one point relatively recently that they thought Caden might come up to play and stuff like that, and then it didn't for whatever reason. And so Keith didn't come that night because there was no reason for him to do so. But I would have to imagine that he's hiding in the building somewhere here tonight.
Yeah, probably a nervous wreck like a goalie dad should be.
Yep. I mean, it's certainly not his debut or anything, and it's he's got some experience under his belt, but it's got to be a little bit different going up against that logo that you watched as a kid.
Yeah, and watched your dad play for so many years as well. Canadiens Pregame this season has played in one game. I think it was in relief, just played a period. He's got a 3 goals against average, so he gave up a goal in that period on 6 shots and an .857 save percentage. But like you said, this isn't the only NHL game he's played in his career. He's got some games under his belt, all said and done. And let me give you his total numbers here. Okay. So total in the NHL, he's appeared in 19 games, started 15. He's 3-10, has a 4.18 goals against average and an .873 save percentage.
He was drafted with a pick the Flyers basically gave to Montreal.
So when they were swapped the 7th round picks.
Yeah, for 2 or 3 straight years, the Flyers traded Montreal their 7th round pick for Montreal's 7th next year, and one of them they nabbed Canadiens Pregame with 199th overall in 2017.
Tom Brady was taken with the 100.
Oh, was he really?
Yeah.
How about that?
Yeah.
Well, I mean, if memory serves, it was like 7 from the end. How many draft picks are there? Back then, there was
the 30 teams at that point, or
217. So I guess there was a little bit more than that.
Yeah,
it was mid early part of the 7th round or something like that.
Okay, let's kind of recap this homestand because we're here on the final game of this homestand. It's been a 7-gamer, and this is the 7th game tonight. And Flyers started this one out, which feels like back in 2021 at this point. It's been going on so long, but the Flyers started it out with that loss against Vegas, if you recall. And that game, the Flyers, the final score in the game was Vegas, as I look for here, 5-3. Vegas got the win. Felix Sandstrom actually played that game as well. Then they got the 5-2 win on St. Patty's Day, and Owen Tippett got the hat trick. And then they had that gut-wrenching 5-4 loss to Carolina where they scored with 0.3 seconds left in regulation to tie it. And then Sebastian Aho completes the hat trick to win it in OT about 28 seconds in. Then the 6-3 win this past Tuesday over Florida, or last Tuesday, I should say. Minnesota shootout win on the 23rd. And then on Saturday, the 3-0 shutout for Carter Hart. And here you are against Montreal tonight. So it's been a good homestand.
Yeah.
I mean, there's only 1 regulation loss in the 6 games, and they have a 5-game point streak.
Again, essentially a 1-goal regulation loss, too, because there was an empty netter there that got out to that little extra gap there between the 2 teams. And, again, for what happened with Carolina, I mean, there's nothing the Flyers would change about how they played that game except for maybe the last 9 seconds. So, you don't look at that as anything like it was a dud or anything like that. It just, didn't end the way they hoped it would. But everything they did in that game was very, very good. So it's been a very, very solid homestand overall. And now the big question is, how do these guys respond, I guess, next year at this point, because they're playing well, but it is garbage time. It's one of those situations where there's not a lot of pressure, and you're just kind of playing a little bit more freely, and they have to make sure that they can continue this when things are on the line.
After the Flyers played Montreal back on February 24th, Montreal beat the Flyers 5-2 here in Philadelphia. Then listen to some of these numbers are bonkers. They had a 5-2 loss against Ottawa, then a 3-1 win over San Jose. Then they lost 5 games in a row by a goal, 2 of them in the shootout, 3-2, 3-2, 4-3, 4-3, 4-3 in the shootout. And then they had a 3-1 loss against New Jersey. And then here's where it gets really interesting. They played Colorado at home. They lost 8-4. The next game, they play Pittsburgh on the road. They win 6-4. Then they play Florida on the road. They lose 9-5. Huge.
1985 again?
That's what I was thinking. And then they lost 5-3. I mean, that is so 8, 12, 21. They gave up 26 goals in those 4 games. That is insane. And then they actually had a win this past week where they beat Columbus 8-2. What is going on with these scores with the Montreal Canadiens?
Well, that's that sounds like defense problems for one thing, but it kind of reflects their coach a little bit. I mean, Marty St. Louis is he's always a high octane guy, he's a high scoring guy when he was playing, and who knows? I don't know what they've got going on over there, but you have to go back to February 14th before you see a Montreal game where either team was shut out. And since then, there's only been 3 games where one of the teams only had 1 goal.
Yeah.
It's, if you like seeing goals scored in your hockey games, this is the team to watch.
In preparation for this game tonight, I watched the John Tortorella portion of when they retired Marty St. Louis' number down in Tampa. Torch was in as the opposition coach, I guess, or maybe it was last year when he wasn't coaching. And he said that at podium, he said, I want to say this with your kids here and your wife here, but Marty St. Louis was a pain in the you-know-what to coach because he always questioned everything to see if there was a better way. And I like that innovative mentality because this game could use some innovative mentality.
Absolutely, it could. And one of the most interesting things that I've heard Tort say in the last month was that, I don't even remember why this came up, but it was the notion of the assistants running a lot of his practices and stuff like that. If you've been paying attention over the course of the season, you'll have seen that, most of the time, Brad Shaw and Rocky Thompson are running practices. Sometimes Torts is out there and just watching. Sometimes he's not even on the ice. And what he said was, these guys all have better drills than me anyway. I go out there with Toe Blake School of a Book of Coaching or something like that. And it's I found that pretty interesting because one of the things you and I have talked about over the last few seasons with this team, it's like, when you're a coach and you're doing something, you see it's not working, why don't you change it? and we talked about it. Well, it's an ego thing. They think it's their way. And John Tortorella definitely realizes that that maybe some younger guys on his staff can better connect with younger players in this game, in this day and age. And that's not to say he doesn't have his finger on the pulse of everything. I mean, he definitely is in control. But he lets his assistants coach their strengths and does what he needs to do when he needs to do it.
He lets them coach the skills, and he coaches the mind.
Yep, exactly.
And when you can get to that point, it's something I want to ask. I'm talking to Torts tomorrow for Hockey and Hounds for the podcast and the pregame show. Something I want to ask him about because you have that relationship with Brad Shaw, who he's been with for years. First, why does that work? And how much of that is, Brad Shaw keeping John in check sometimes, and also knowing that he serves a hole in Torts' weak spot, and vice versa.
Yep.
That's what a great coaching staff does. Everybody fills the weakest spot with their strength.
Exactly. Yeah, and it's been interesting over the years what we've seen come through here. I mean, you go back to even as far back as John Stevens. I mean, when he became the coach of the Flyers in the midst of that campaign, he came down the hall, but he brought Craig Berube with him. And then Peter Laviolette comes in. He brings in Kevin McCarthy. Kevin McCarthy has hopped from town to town to town with Peter Laviolette over the years. It was a little bit different with Chief when he was the head coach here. But Dave Hackstall comes in, and he rolled, I think, pretty much with who was here, if I recall correctly. I don't remember any huge changes there, but Elaine Vigneault comes in. He brings Mike Tarian with him. It is interesting how these coaches tend to stick together as they kind of move around the league a little bit.
Yeah, to coach this thing, and Fred Shearer was the first guy to have an assistant coach. Think about how many now between the bench and upstairs and video coaches and everything.
Coach, he said the other day that he it was during the podcast he said this, that he sees a lot of Fred Shearer in John Tortorella.
Yeah.
Just the way he carries himself and
manages
interpersonal relationships and managing. Yeah, I mean, he sees a lot of that in there. It's kind of interesting to put it that way.
Well, you get the question when you're out in public, as I do too, like at the Wawa, what's Torts like behind the scenes?
Right, yeah.
And I say he's actually a really chill, mellow guy. And they're like, no way.
Mm-hmm.
I'm like, yeah, that's the way he's wired. But when he's wired, he's wired.
Yeah.
And I like that. Let's take a timeout. It is Flyers Montreal tonight here at Wells Fargo Center, which is a bonus because we get the Canadian anthem as well, which I love. So we'll have dueling anthems tonight, and Flyers and Canadians. Tim Saunders, Steve Coates will have the countdown to face off in the first period action at the top of the hour. But we'll be back with Flyers Game Day brought to you by Betway on the Flyers Broadcast Network.
Flyers hockey on the BetRivers.com Flyers Broadcast Network.
Kevin Hayes gave Sean
Black
Farrell
and
a
Brew
signed
on East
stick,
Passyunk
apparently.
Avenue in South Philadelphia is the Cheers of coffee shops. A friendly neighborhood cafe in
They're both
operation for
from
over
Mass.
16 years, Black and Brew serves breakfast, lunch, coffee, and smoothies with everything made from scratch. Vegetarian, vegan, and gluten-free options are available. For a full menu and other information, visit their website at www.blackbrew.net.
My Fair Trade Lady is dedicated to providing customers with beautiful gifts, clothing, and home goods that
The
are
best
made
part of
according to
NLA
Fair
is to
Trade
be,
Federation principles. This includes paying artisans a living
NILs,
wage up
whatever
front,
it is, right?
providing an
Name, image,
opportunity for
likeness.
growth, rejecting child labor in all forms, cultivating culture respect,
really kind of
ensuring
astonishing
environmental
to me.
stewardship, and more.
They're the ones
My
cashing
Fair
in.
Trade Lady.
Yeah.
Shop local.
The
Empower
guys?
artisans around the world. Check
Nope.
us out at myfairtradelady.com.
All the Flyers Cup teams are
Magic
here tonight.
Threads
Yes.
Consignment Boutique
They
in
are.
Media Mini Mall on State Street and Media offers an eclectic selection of men's and women's gently used apparel, handbags, shoes, and jewelry. Magic Threads offers high-quality items at a cost-effective price, allowing those living on a tight budget
This
to have
guy
their
is the
own personal
first
sense of style. Bring in items for consignment
round
and
pick
make
from
money
that
while
draft to
knowing
play
they'll
in
go
the
to
league.
someone that will utilize and cherish them. Find us on Instagram at
That's
Magic Threads Consignment and follow us on Facebook at Magic Threads Consignment Boutique.
Here
we go, boys.
What's up? Jason Martinez and Brian Smith on the Flyers Broadcast Network.
Back live at the Wells Fargo Center. It's Flyers Canadians tonight to wrap up a 7-game homestand. Flyers will head to Ottawa tomorrow, take on the Senators on Thursday, and then come right back home for one, then hit the road for, I guess, their last pronounced road trip, 4-gamer coming up.
Yeah, that's the last long one. It starts in Pittsburgh on Sunday, back-to-back this weekend, Saturday, Sunday. And then St. Louis, Dallas, and the Island. Interesting scheduling. You got to go St. Louis and Dallas, come back to the Island, and then the next week go back to Chicago. But nobody's complaining.
Yeah.
Travel's easy these days.
Yeah, well, for a team in the Eastern Conference,
Yes.
in this Northeast corridor, for sure, especially when you compare it to what some other teams have to deal with. That Dallas team's a really good team.
I spent time in the United Hockey League. I'd have to be walking down an interstate before I complained about it. There's not happening.
The interesting thing is Saturday's game against Buffalo is 7 o'clock game. There's only one other 7 o'clock game the rest of the way.
Really?
6 o'clock on Sunday against
And we get
Pittsburgh.
out in the Central Time Zone.
Yeah, then 8, and then an 8:30, then a 7:30 on the Island, then a 6 o'clock Sunday game against Boston here, and then a 7 is the last 7 game against Columbus, and 8:30 for the season finale, April 13th.
Scheduling fluke.
Wow.
Definitely.
Pretty crazy. Flyers tonight. I was making the prediction for many games that Tyson Forster was going to get a goal, and then he did in back-to-back games and rewarded me handsomely. And Joel Farabee had goals in 4 straight, almost had one in the 5th straight. Did get an assist, has the point streak going. But I'm saying Joel Farabee picks up another one tonight. I see a confident player that's going to finish this season strong.
Absolutely.
What do you think about that?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, again, the more and more time he gets, recovering from this offseason last year, the stronger he gets, and he'll be ready to go next year. That's for sure. I think we've seen it first in Jack Eichel and now in Joel Farabee that there's a road back. It's not probably too different from a core surgery, but next year he should be ready and raring to go.
What's interesting is that still leading the Flyers in points is Travis Konechny. He's played 52 games. He's got 54 points, 27 and 27. Second in points is Kevin Hayes, 3 points back, but has played 19 more games than TK. Lawton, third in points with 41 and 68. Owen Tippett with 40 points. D'Angelo, I mean, he's got a nice productive year going, by the way. 39 points.
Yeah, sneaky.
Yeah. And Morgan Frost is another guy that I want to circle tonight because I just feel like his game is in the confidence, and he's a player that needs confidence on the ice because he's creative and skilled.
Yeah.
And you see it with Tippett now as Tip gets more comfortable and he's trying things and really becoming a dynamic player. I think Frost is gaining a lot of confidence right now too, and he's a guy I think to look out for in this one tonight.
It is, again, just we've hit on it ad nauseum. It's development that stalled during the pandemic that is starting to pick up again, and I think it's it's what the organization was hoping to see with some of these guys coming through, and again, that's the thing, that you don't want to. It could be a little bit dangerous to evaluate too much at this time of year. Again, when there's nothing on the line and everything's kind of playing free, and some of these teams the Flyers are going up against, when they're a playoff team, they might look at the Flyers and say, unless they need the points, might be a day for them to rest some guys or whatever. Who knows? But it's definitely promising to at least see some progress from some of these guys. That some of this progress is regardless of who you're playing. So it is a positive sign forward.
Felix Sandstrom will get the start tonight with Carter out and Sam Arison getting the emergency call up. Sandstrom this season, he's taking it on the chin from a record standpoint. 14 games that he's appeared in, he's got a record of 110-2, 349 goals against average, 884 save percentage. But of late in his last couple of starts, he's been really good.
Mm-hmm. Yep, and
looking to carry that.
Again, looking at the the situation that he was in coming into the season, he had not had not gotten a whole lot of NHL work. He'd always looked very good in in scrimmages and preseason and whatnot, but he hadn't gotten a ton other than that. Got here, and there were a couple of things going on. One was that the Flyers were never very good in front of him for the first several games, but the thing that was that was said about him was there was always the one goal, right? The one goal that would get by him or whatever, and they needed one more save and wouldn't necessarily get it. But these last couple of games, he really has. They've gotten. He had the one win where, it was the overtime loss. Excuse me, it wasn't that, but that was a game where he probably deserved a better fate. If you go all the way back to his win. Which was going all the way back to November. I mean, that was a one-goal game for him, 27-28, and he's had a couple others that he's looked okay in. But that's what they were hoping, is that he'd find a way to make that one more save. And we'll see if it gets there.
I actually heard Sheldon Keefe talking about that in regards to Matt Murray and Leafs.
Yeah,
and we can't have to score more than 4 goals every night.
Right.
I need you to find a way to make 2 more saves.
Mm-hmm.
And that's the truth. That's the magic number in the NHL for the most part. Race to 4. Flyers have been scoring lately. They've been getting scoring lately. So they've been getting some run support. Hopefully that holds true tonight for Felix Sandstrom and the Flyers as they take on the Montreal Canadiens. Let's take our last time out. We'll take you right up to the countdown to face-off, and we'll give you the line combinations, and that's coming up right after this. You're listening to Flyers Game Day, brought to you by Betway on the Flyers Broadcast Network.
Flyers Hockey on the BetRivers.com Flyers Broadcast Network.
Every piece of land has a story. Some right there is behind the wheel of a John Deere 1 Series tractor, like the Upshaws.
This is my tractor Penny. It's all about attention to detail.
But the Nelsons love cruising around their expansive Montana ranch in their John Deere Gator UV.
We've been here since 1868.
While the Caggianos drive a John Deere zero-turn mower to keep their Long Island brewery looking sharp.
Don't call me, don't bother me. I'm going out to mow for a couple hours.
Run with us and start telling your story. Learn more at johndeere.com/radio.
I'm ready to hit the gym. We need to get in shape for summer.
So does our HVAC system.
Yeah, winter was so mild this year. Our HVAC system definitely didn't get its usual workout.
But cooling down the house in the summer, that takes some heavy lifting.
Bryant will do whatever it takes to get your AC ready for summer, from system tune-ups to 0% financing on a new home comfort system. Act now to take advantage of federal, state, and local rebates. Find your local Bryant dealer at nopaybryant.com.
Bryant.
Whatever it takes.
Spring training isn't just for baseball players. Time to lose that fat with NJ Diet. Their program contractually guarantees you'll lose 20 to 40 plus pounds in only 40 days. No feeling of hunger, no shots, no hormones, no prepackaged foods, and no surgery. Locations throughout the East Coast or from anywhere with live online video consultations. Get guaranteed weight loss today by calling 855-5NJ-DIET or visit njdiet.com. That's njdiet.com.
There's no sense in being redundant. Here we go.
This is the Flyers pregame show with Jason Martinez and Brian Smith on the Flyers Broadcast Network.
That's right. It is the Flyers game day brought to you by Betway. Flyers, Montreal Canadiens tonight. It's always a kind of a special vibe when Montreal comes to town. Original six, you know the history. Even though I'll be 51 on Thursday, I don't go all the way back with their history.
Mm-hmm.
But even in my lifetime, there's some rich history between these two teams because of some very fun circumstance.
Yeah. Yep. There's all those legendary games from the 80s and stuff like that. I mean, those are ones that live on in lore. And, the one thing with the Flyers over the years is they just kept running into dynasties, and this is one of the ones they ran into.
76.
Yeah. I mean, and that was a series that they had to play without Bernie and without Rick McLeish. It's like, where would they have been with those two guys there? It's certainly there's certainly something extra every time you see that logo on the other side of the ice.
Oh, no doubt. And the thing is too is when Patrick Waugh played for Montreal, the Flyers always had good numbers against Patrick Waugh. For some reason, one of the great goaltenders of all time. He's got a 31 games played against the Flyers, 7-12-10 record.
Yeah.
And an 878 save percentage. I don't know that he has a lower save percentage against any other team. He does not.
No, I mean, it was
that's crazy.
It was always something that for whatever reason the Flyers
owned him,
matched up well against them. And then there was the playoffs. The playoff rivalry that developed in the 80s there.
Boxcar Eddie and Brownie
again. 86 is not on my list, but that's a year where, if the tragedy doesn't happen with Pelle Lindbergh, that's a year you look at that, could have been a Flyers Cup year because Edmonton didn't even make it. And, by the time the Flyers got to the playoffs, they were so emotionally spent from everything they'd been through. I mean, that was the last year that the President's Trophy started the next year, I believe, and the Flyers would have won it that year had it existed. They just finished first overall. The timing of all that, you just kind of one of those things you look back and wonder a little bit.
Yeah, it's Waugh's first full year in 85-86, and they were pretty good.
Yeah.
It was a pretty good start to his career, and of course he won one in 93, the last Canadian team to win a cup as well. Let's get to the Flyers line combinations. I could go down the Montreal Canadian rabbit hole all day. We'll do that at another time. And if you go to the Hockey Hall of Fame, though, make sure you go to the Montreal Canadian locker room thing that's there, which is awesome. But the line combinations tonight, no surprise here. Noah Cates, Joel Farabee, Owen Tippett. No shockers.
Yep. And again, there's always some things that might go on during the game. You might see some guys moved around and stuff. It was funny when we were talking with Torts about this morning. He says, "Who would have thought you'd look at this and think, wow, what a hole we have because Tyson Forrester went down."
Yeah.
It's like he did such a great job here. So
played like what, 6 or 7 games.
Yeah. So they got to figure out what they're going to do about that. So right now they've got it the way they've got it. I think you might see Lawton play some with Tippett at some point.
Mhm.
I think they want to have a look at that. So this is how they're going to come out to start, and then just see where things go from there.
The second line will be Morgan Frost, Brendan Lemieux, and Wade Allison. Then you got Kevin Hayes in the middle, centering James Van Riemsdyk and Kiefer Bellows. 11 and 7 tonight. Lawton and Delarier, the other two forwards. Like you said, you'll see some different combinations there. Nick Delarier back in the lineup as well, which is good news. D pairs, Provorov and York, Sanheim and Ristolainen, Sealer and D'Angelo, Braun in there as well. We'll see if they maybe move Braun up to a couple shifts at the wing like they did earlier this season. Probably not, but these D pairs seem like they've gotten some staying power for the first time this season of late, with the Provorov York pairing, Sanheim Ristolainen, and Sealer D'Angelo.
Yeah, I mean, like we used to follow all over the course of the season. We've kind of lost track of it a little bit, just focusing on the young forwards and what they're doing. But there's been that back and forth. Provorov on the left, obviously. Sanheim's usually on the left. So what do? York go to the right, Sanheim go to the right. Ristolainen's got to be on the right. So they've finally settled in here to a pretty good look. And who knows what happens moving forward, whether this top six stays the same or not. There could be guys coming up from the Phantoms. There could be guys coming in from outside, but at least they know what this particular group can do.
Well, I tell you, there's a guy down with the Phantoms right now that they should have signed to an ELC. Originally came over after his season was over in Sweden on an ATO, an amateur tryout contract. And I was texting with Lappy. Boy, do they like Emil Andrea.
It was we were kind of laughing about it today. It was like, this when they were talking about Ronnie Attard, and Ronnie Attard may see a look in the NHL before the year is out, but they're laughing about how I don't know how we're going to get this guy in the lineup. Attard's playing really well. Well, Ronnie was sick over the weekend, and he came out of the lineup. And now this guy comes in, and they're like, I don't know how we're going to get Attard back in the lineup.
Yeah.
Like, who knows now? He's just been playing so well. So
he popped so much they put him to an ELC right away.
Yep. So it's been a great start for him. He was kind of heralded coming in from overseas, and it's been off to a great start. So that's another promising thing looking forward here.
Yeah, and the comp on him, Bri, that they bring up is Kimmo Timonen.
Yeah, I'll take that.
I'll take that all day and twice on Sunday. Timonen was a fantastic player and defender. It takes some time for him to get to that level to defend at this level.
Yeah, and again, look back at Kimmo's career. He was one of those guys that greatly benefited from the rule changes too.
Yep.
Because of his smaller stature, he wasn't probably going to be a highly effective defenseman in the old NHL. But when the new one showed up, he
took off,
stoppable. Yep.
Yeah, and you got Andrea down there. You've also got Ginning down there. You've got Attard. We saw Forster. We've seen Denoye. Boy, I told Lapp, I said, you're doing a hell of a job down there because everybody that you're sending up here looks better than before.
And he said, I know.
He did say that.
I know.
He said,
I know. Yes.
He said, you better recognize. Because
said, make sure you say that on the radio.
Well, I said it, Lappy. So there you go, buddy. But that's great news. Development's going to be a big part of this thing.
That's the only way you can do it in this day and age.
Yep.
Especially as long as this flat cap is around. You got to develop the guys that you got. And, there hasn't been enough of that here in the last several years. So that's the way forward for this team right now.
Yeah, no question. And Lappy doing a good job down there. Maybe we see a couple of those guys before season's end. But tonight, what we see is Caden Primo and net for the Montreal Canadiens. And it is Felix Sandstrom for the Flyers. It's the Flyers and Montreal Canadiens tonight. Stay tuned because Tim Saunders, Steve Coates, they've got the countdown to face off. And that is followed by all the first period action here at Wells Fargo Center to wrap up a 7-game homestand. Flyers Canadiens after this. You've been listening to Flyers Game Day, brought to you by Betway on the Flyers Broadcast Network.
To 97.5
Pat, don't mess it up.
Philadelphia, a Beasley Media Group station. Now it's time for Philadelphia.
Say your words. They've won 3 in a row for the first time since early January. And while some non-playoff teams are mailing it in at the end, the Flyers are not. Tonight, the final game of their 7-game homestand, they can match their longest win streak of the year against Caden Primo and the Montreal Canadiens. It's the Flyers and Habs from Wells Fargo Center, and it's coming up next.
This is Countdown to face-off on the
An improved penalty kill and great goaltending has led the Flyers to playing some of their best hockey here of late. Tonight, they can end their longest homestand of the year by matching their longest winning streak of the season. A pleasant good evening. Welcome to the Flyers hockey action again with Steve Coates. I'm Tim Saunders. Playoff teams are gearing up for the postseason, and most of the clubs that are not going to be in the playoffs are kind of playing out the string. But Coachy, the Flyers have certainly not taken that attitude. They're scoring more goals of late. And as much as the kids have been a big part of it, the veteran Scott Lawton has goals in 3 straight games.
Well, he's one of my favorites. I mean, he's a guy that came out of Oshawa in the Ontario Hockey League as a big-time scorer. Number 1 draft pick. So there's a lot of fanfare with that you come in. It didn't go well for him. It didn't go the way he expected, the way any young guy coming out of Canada or the United States or Europe. Visions like, okay, I'm a number 1 pick. This is exact. I'm going to do this and I'm going to do that. It didn't happen. So he had to go to the minors. Had to be absolutely deflating to him. But he fought back and he got back into the lineup. And I think that as time is going on, you've got Voracek moving on, Giroux moving on, Niskanen moving on. They had to have more leadership or new leadership. And he fit the bill. And I think he's done that with both on and off the ice with this hockey club.
Yeah, he might be one of the underrated players around the league. Few things have improved here lately to help the Flyers rattle off recent wins. They're scoring more because their forecheck's been more effective. And on that penalty kill, they have changed things. They're way more aggressive, pressuring other teams more, not letting them set up.
Well, what they're doing is they're using the same type of penalty kill that's killing them with the aggressive. As soon as you see somebody that's standing still for any length of time, you go after them. And that's what's really, really plagued the Flyers' power play because they don't react to it. So it'll be interesting to see how it's just a matter of being, like you said, more aggressive. And you know what? If you have a good penalty kill, that means that you can go back and not worry about taking penalties. You don't have to worry about getting away from your game. If your game is being physical, you want to be physical. You got a guy like Delorier? Delorier. You want to be able to do that. So I think everything's moving in the right direction.
Montreal's won 3 of the last 4, but they're behind the Flyers in the standings. They're going to miss the playoffs for the 2nd year in a row. But with all their injuries, they've got kids in the lineup getting a chance, kind of like what's happening here in Philadelphia. Keith Primo's son, the former Flyer captain, is been called up. He's going to be in goal.
I think it's great. I mean, he's played against the Flyers before, but not in this building. And he has played in this building because he played for the United States junior team here in the Wells Fargo, which a game I did years back. And yeah, he's had some struggles, but he's a big boy. And remember, goalies take the longest to develop. They might go through some really tough years, but at least they're giving him an opportunity. And I said before, guarantee the Primos are here somewhere.
Well, it is the final game of what's been a really successful 7-game homestand so far. Flyers could match the season best winning streak at 4 in a row with a win tonight. Flyers and Canadiens are coming up. We'll take the break. We'll come back with the starting lineups, the opening faceoff, when we return to the BetRivers.com Flyers Broadcast Network.
The countdown to face-off on the Flyers Radio Network.
Gray Space Interiors is an award-winning full-service design firm featured on HGTV, Agriculture Digest, House Beautiful, El Decor, Philly Mag, Good Day Philadelphia, and more. Focused on creating a client-focused, collaborative, and transformative design experience, our approach to design can be found at the intersection of beauty, function, and process. Design isn't black and white. Let us find your gray space. Visit us at grayspaceinteriors.com.
At Aunt Veerley's Pound Cake Experience, you'll find not only mouth-watering pound cakes, but all varieties of cakes, along with popular cobblers and puddings. All of Aunt Veerley's creations are made using the finest ingredients to give them that unique homemade taste. Visit their website at auntveerleys.com for a full list of offerings, toppings, and frosting flavors. And always remember, at Aunt Veerley's, we make you smile.
Hi, Hi, I'm Alyssa Gallardi, former member of the U.S. Women's National Team. Join me with the Flyers Learn to Play Rookie Program as we offer 3 girls-only sessions this spring in Aston, Warminster, and Westchester, Pennsylvania for girls between the ages of 5 and 9. You'll get 6 weeks of hockey instruction in a supportive environment and a complete head-to-toe set of Flyers branded equipment. To register, visit PhiladelphiaFlyers.com/rookie program.
You don't want to miss the Philadelphia Flyers hit the ice at Wells Fargo Center this season.
Swanton is in. Backhand, forehand, backhand. He scores!
Be here when the Flyers take on the Buffalo Sabres on April 1st for PA Lottery Night. All fans in attendance will receive a PA Lottery ticket as they take their seats.
Farabee scores! On the backhand, Joel Farabee pulls it off the end boards and stuffs it home.
Get your tickets now, only at PhiladelphiaFlyers.com. You don't want to miss the Philadelphia Flyers hit the ice at Wells Fargo Center this season.
Swanton is in. Backhand, forehand, backhand. He scores!
Be here when the Flyers take on the Buffalo Sabres on April 1st for PA Lottery Night. All fans in attendance will receive a PA Lottery ticket as they take their seats.
Farabee scores! On the backhand, Joel Farabee pulls it off the end boards.
Mics are hot, guys. Here we go. Mics are hot.
Now, only at PhiladelphiaFlyers.com.
From Wells Fargo Center, it's the Flyers and the Montreal Canadiens as the two teams meet for the third and final time this year.
Well, let's take a look at our Belfour Restoration starting goaltenders. Obviously brought to you by Belfour Restoration. In that tonight for Montreal Canadiens is going to be Caden Primo, the son of Keith Primo, who's played in just the one game this year, goals against average 3, and a save percentage of .857. For the Philadelphia Flyers, going to be Felix Sandstrom, 14 games, 1-10-2, goals against average 3.49, save percentage of .884. Referees, Connor O'Donnell and Gord Dwyer. The linesmen, C.J. Murray and Derek Nansen.
So this is a bit of a late change. Carter Hart was expected to get the starting goal. They announced he would miss the game with an upper body injury. That was at about 5 o'clock, so they scrambled to get Sam Erison up from Lehigh as Felix Sandstrom's back up. Caden Primo has been a while without a win in the NHL. It's been almost a year and a half, but his last victory was against Philadelphia.
In Montreal.
In Montreal, yeah. Montreal controls the opening face-off game underway, but they turn it over at center ice. And Sanheim skates in from the corner. He tried to get it out in front. Owen Tippett dragged it out of the skates of a man. It's in front. There's a shot by Farabee from the left circle, and it didn't miss by much. Sanheim on the right wing dumps in behind the goal line. He left it there for Noah Cates, but Cates couldn't get to it. They scrum for it and jam it free behind the goal. Montreal pressured there and turned the puck over again. Good pressure there by Farabee. Sanheim rolls it on the end wall. He's pinned up against the end boards, and Montreal drags it free. Jordan Harris got it to Hoffman. It bounced off a Flyer at the side of that. Hoffman taken down. Can't chop it away from Wade Allison fighting for it in behind the net. Deep in the Montreal end, but with the Canadiens had a rough first shift in their own zone.
And boy, did Travis Sanheim have a great shift. He jumped up, and once you're there, you got to stay there. Somebody, a winger or center, is going to be able to cover it, but he stayed right with it in the forecheck.
Here comes Morgan Frost with good speed to the Montreal line. Little whoopsie-doo behind the back, thrown at the net and sticked away by Caden Primo. He tried a little spinorama move around the defenseman. Back to the point, and York with a shot reaching out. Primo's got that in the glove, and he'll hold on.
Isn't it interesting to watch Tippett and Frost and Allison doing things that they didn't do 3 months ago, didn't do it 4 months ago? Because confidence. If you have confidence and the game comes to you a little bit faster, and is more exposed in front of you, then you have the ability to try those things. That was an outstanding move by Frost.
Yeah, both teams can talk a little bit about the silver lining that comes with a rash of injuries, because these kids have been in situations that they otherwise wouldn't have been in, and they're probably further ahead because of it.
Well, look at Sean Farrell, kid that's playing his first game in the National Hockey League. You know, last week he's playing for Harvard in the NCAA semifinals. And here he is here tonight. And let me tell you, that kid's only 5'9", very typical Harvard. Harvard has always been one that they got these guys that can scoot. And he's a 20-goal scorer, 53 points in college hockey is a lot of points. Just 5'9", which is very prototypical of the Canadiens. They get those little sneaky, quietly, no, they're not quiet, very fast.
So he's about $175, but he's got some high-end skill, they think. Lifted by the Canadiens into center ice. Failing to knock that down was Brendan Gallagher. Flyers get it into the middle, and as Hayes stepped in, they're going to whistle the Flyers offside.
Montreal used to be the creme de creme, the New York Yankees of hockey. No two ways about it. Now they've struggled of late. Last Stanley Cup was in 93, if I'm not mistaken. Is that correct? 93.
3 or 4, yeah.
Yep. When Eric Desjardins and John Clare played on that team. Tell you how long ago it was.
Right.
But they used to be filled with francophones, which are French Canadians, and now I think they only got 3.
The weird thing about the Canadiens, given their long history, and you're right, they set the bar for years in the NHL. They've got a rookie coach and a rookie general manager at the same time, really, and that itself is kind of unusual. When I say rookie, they were named to their respective positions without any experience in their careers. One was an agent, the GM was an agent, and Marty St. Louis had no coaching experience at any level.
Yeah, but Marty St. Louis, I mean, he's one of the French people I was talking about. But, you know, Kent Hughes goes in there, the GM, and then you got Jeff Gordon, who came home from the New York Rangers when he was running the Rangers until the purge started there. He is now the president and executive vice president of hockey operations over Kent Hughes.
Yep. Well, these two teams are going through similar rough times. They're both going to miss the playoffs for the Habs' second year in a row. What was it? Only 3 years ago, the Canadiens were in the Stanley Cup Finals. All the way back into the Philadelphia, and Tony DeAngelo upended in the corner. Montreal gets into the circle, and Farrell missed his man with a pass cutting to the net. It was actually Chris Tierney that tried to hit a teammate cutting in. Batted back in behind the Flyer goal. Montreal now on the forecheck, and they get it back to the line. Jordan Harris shot knocked away by Felix Sandstrom. Nick Delorier back in the lineup for the Flyers. He's got it on the far wall and flipped it into the air to center ice. And the Canadiens will back out as Philadelphia makes a change. Brendan Lemieux pressuring the puck carrier Kovacevic back into his own zone. Now the Canadiens right up the middle, and they missed that lead pass intended for Mike Hoffman. That'll be icing called against the Canadiens.
You know, Montreal and the Philadelphia Flyers have a couple of stats as far as league-wide stats in common. Since 1967, there's only one team that's got a better winning percentage during the regular season than Philadelphia, and that's Montreal. Also, since 67, only Montreal has been more Stanley Cup Finals than the Philadelphia Flyers.
And yet they are as far or further away, they think, than the Flyers are. Again, they are in the process of rebuilding. They've got some pieces, a lot like the Flyers. Kids have come on and maybe surprised some people. Harvey Pinard is one of them. Here's Nick Suzuki. His backhand shot sticked away, knocked away by Felix Sandstrom, and Philadelphia unable to get free into the corner. Harvey Pinard got it in front. Back to the blue line. They'll go point to point. David Savard with a shot that got through. Sandstrom was there to make the save. Felix Sandstrom is making his 14th start of the year, and now half of those have been in the second of back-to-back games. This obviously is the seventh that was not the second half of back-to-back. So that will kind of change his numbers. He's not been overly successful, though. He's 0-7-2 in his last 9 starts.
It's not in that record is not indicative of how he played. There's no two ways about it. Is he prone? Excuse me. Is he prone to a little bit of a one goal a game problem? Maybe not that many, but he is prone to that. And that's part of the education of a goaltender. It's the hardest position. And Caden Primo's another good example that it's the hardest position to jump into the National Hockey League without experience.
Second line against second line here. Brendan Lemieux is up with Wade Allison and Morgan Frost. Philadelphia's controls it center ice back to their own blue line. Ristolainen and Provorov out there together right now. Here's Lemieux. Leaves for Risto, and right up the middle, he missed Allison with that pass. That'll go wide of the net. And no icing. Looked like Caden Primo expected one. On the far half wall, Montreal plays it ahead. Farrell gets it. The rink light pass at center is broke up by the Flyers, and Allison again steps into the Montreal line. Upended as he was pushed to the ice. He does spend a lot of time on the ice. He falls about as much as Scotty Hartnell used to. Here, Gurianov pulling away at center ice. Then as Gurianov pulls up in the right circle, brings it back into the high slot out by the blue line. Yolonen played it back far side, and Harris winds it in behind the net. Kovacevic knocked it off of Provorov, got it in front, but the Canadiens keep it into the line. Brendan Gallagher, he'll wind from the circle with a shot, and Sandstrom's got that in his glove, and he'll get it blown dead.
Brendan Gallagher's a dynamite player and a little dynamo, and he missed a lot of time. They got him playing on the third line right now, which is fascinating because he's probably one of their better players. But Mike Hoffman got up there on the right-hand side with Suzuki right now, a guy that can also score goals.
Gallagher's fifth game since missing 32 with a lower body injury. Coach, he scored his 200th NHL goal in the win against Buffalo last night in Buffalo.
This is where you got to take advantage. This is a back-to-back for Montreal. The Flyers are sitting here waiting for him. This obviously, you got to take advantage. They're probably more prone to being seen in the third period.
Yeah, this is also the third of 4 games for third game in 4 nights, rather, for the Canadiens. Shot for the point, and Sandstrom's got that in the glove and holds on.
Then you wonder why they got so many injuries. 3 games in 4 nights on the road, back-to-back. But let's get back to that last face-off. See what happens? Bang. Great. And they're having a little meeting right now. They're going to change up a little bit. And see if Evans can win this.
He does not. Flyers get it into the corner. York rolls it along the boards. Then the Flyers able to jam it out at center ice. Into the middle. Flyers jump in. Here's Hayes going to the net. Backhand can't beat Primo as he got the stick out. Hayes had designs of going 5-0, and Primo knocked it away. Here's Gallagher up the left wing into the Philadelphia end. Bump from behind by Hayes. Got it in deep, but the Flyers play it away. And Kiefer Bellows starts out. Bellows gives it to Van Riemsdyk. He'll dump it in deep, and Montreal turns to play that. Kovacevic on the end wall. Unable to get it by Van Riemsdyk, knocked it down. Kovacevic finds it again and outlets, and Jake Evans steps to center. He bats it back into the Philadelphia end, but Braun is back. Justin Braun back in the lineup. Again, the Flyers sent the 2 kids back to Lehigh, Tyson Forster and Yegor Zamula. So they will try to help the Lehigh Valley Phantoms and Ian LaPerriere to a playoff run. David Savard over the line. Montreal into the Philadelphia zone again. Wrapping in behind that. Belzile rolls it in behind the goal. Centering pass. They couldn't get it back to Belzile. Chris Tierney was also in the area. Here's Philadelphia on the attack. Frost over the line. Gave it to Nick Delorier, and his shot deflected up over the net. Lawton back down low behind the goal. Couldn't get that free to Frost. Digs it free into the far corner. Flyers again going with 11 forwards and 7 D-men. So that was why Frost was out there with Delorier and Lawton, and now the Flyers will change. Montreal's taking their time. They'll set up behind their own net and wait for their own change to be complete.
Do you know why they only have 11 and 7? Because that's all they've got.
Who's that?
Flyers.
Yeah, Tanner Lasinski is a healthy scratch. Over the line, Philadelphia gives it up. Swinging in behind the net. Owen Tippett curls out top left circle. He'll play it out right point. Ristolainen back into the corner. Sanheim rolls it in behind the net. Noah Cates fighting for it there. Farabee got a stick on it, but Montreal controls, and out they come at center ice. Mike Hoffman cuts across the neutral zone, and he's going to be forced to turn back into his own end as both teams complete a change again. A near turnover. Owen Tippett wrapped it back to his own blue line, and Ivan Provorov backs in. Provorov gets it across. Here's York up the middle. He was cut off, but not before he tips it in deep. Montreal goes in after that. Into the forecheck. Good hustle there by Wade Allison. Into the left wing corner, Brendan Lemieux now. Feeds out to the point, but he put it past Provorov and all the way back into his own end. Sandstrom out of the net. York comes back for that. We've played about 8 minutes of this first period. No score. York took a return pass from Brendan Lemieux at the line. Looked like he was going to have a chance to skate right in, but it's offside. We get a timeout on the ice. 11:53 left in the opening period. No score on the BetRivers.com Flyers broadcast network.
Flyers. BetRivers.com Flyers broadcast network.
Without the ones like you who work tirelessly to keep things running.
I tried to talk to this girl on Sunday at the carnival.
Schools and power plants.
Light was on, but didn't look like anybody was home.
You're the ones who get
I talked to her on the elevator. I've never picked up a woman on an elevator.
Coatsy blew me off to talk to her.
Really?
Yeah.
Where was that?
Oh, out in the hallway. You're like, oh,
Wow.
hi, to her. And then I'm just like, and then I walk by, I was like, oh, hi.
When was that? I already seen her on the elevator. I don't know what I was following up with.
I don't know, it was a couple days ago.
A couple of days ago.
Yeah.
He doesn't remember a couple hours ago.
I probably, I'll tell you what, I'll send you an apology with a letter.
Oh, that'd be great.
Yeah. Yes.
Yeah, quick question. Who the fuck do you think you are to blow off Elizabeth Briggs Deming? Who?
He's got a good point.
Who the fuck do you think
Thank you.
you are? She is the mother of our unborn children, and you're sitting there blowing her off?
Let me just ask you first of all, Pat. And first of all, it's very nice to hear from you.
Always, Coach.
I returned your fucking phone call the other
And I
day.
called
Did he
you back.
return your $200?
Oh,
I
that
called
200's
you
gone.
back.
That's
you
gone.
never called me back.
Okay, well then, I'll tell you what. You're getting a nice letter from me also.
Okay. Here we go, guys. Coming back. Pumps.com. What's hot?
Be here when the Flyers take on the Sabres this Saturday, presented by P Lottery. Get your tickets only at PhiladelphiaFlyer.com.
Montreal comes back with Jonathan Drouin out with Dennis Gurianov. He was picked up at the deadline from Dallas, and he's a little bit of a project. Coach, he's still a guy that, boy, if they can just get him to come with what he's got consistently, he could be an effective player.
Well, anytime you get 6'3" guy that's a number one pick, he's going to get a numerous amount of opportunity. Very simple.
Lemieux skates in, swings wide, sends it out in front, but a good stick by Primo cut that off in the goal mouth, and he covers it up. The Canadiens, again, are a lot like the Flyers. They're looking at subtractions this summer before they make additions, and a couple of guys that are high on that list because of their contractual situations, what it would take to qualify them. I'm not sure Gurianov's going to be necessarily in Montreal next year. Jonathan Drouin's even questionable.
Well, I guarantee they're not going to keep Drouin. I bet you they're not very happy about that trade they made for the player that they lost to the Tampa Bay Lightning.
On the draw, Kevin Hayes wins it. Nick Cedar, he'll go point to point. Here's D'Angelo with a drive, and that was blocked, and Montreal stumbles. Yolonen fell, but he finally backed it up the left wing. Gallagher inside the Flyer blue line, met by two Flyers. Got it into the corner. Jake Evans got Yolonen in front of the net. That deflected right on, and almost a good thing it went to Felix Sandstrom because he was able to cover it right there.
Oh, by the way, I'd like to take this opportunity, I know you will concur, to congratulate Sydney Stutman, head of the Cherries for the Philadelphia Flyers, and her staff, a marvelous staff, by the way, for an outstanding carnival on Sunday.
Yeah, that was a great day Sunday, and you're right. Well done by Sydney and her staff. It was well attended, and after a 3-year hiatus with the pandemic, it was fun to be back here seeing the carnival. A lot of guys that even have been here for a little while, that was the first time they'd experienced that.
Yeah, you had an opportunity to talk to some people like that, and Morgan Frost was his first, kind of looking around like with his eyes wide open, going, "Wow, this is really something."
You know what the lasting impression I think it left for the players who had not been to one is, even though the Flyers have had a rough year, the energy from the fans was really eye-opening, I think, to a lot of these guys.
Well, I don't think our fans are very smart. Okay, we're not. When we say something that's kind of They understand. They know the game. So they understand now, and watching and seeing how they're playing right now, that this is a better team that they were watching 2 months ago, which gives them hope for what's going to happen the rest of the way and the beginning of next year.
Yeah, I honestly think some guys were energized by the reaction they got from some of the fans talking to some of the folks. Here's Sanheim out of his own zone. He's back out there now with Justin Braun defensively. Montreal couldn't keep it on the line. Raphael Harvey-Pinard plays it back. He's another example of a guy on a top line who's had a chance to get big minutes, and boy, he's taken advantage of it. Long stretch pass up the right wing, just out of the reach of Farabee. That'll be an icing goal against Montreal. Coach, you don't have to look any further than the Canadiens coach. Marty Saint-Louis, small guy in stature, but he was a former MVP in this league. And Harvey-Pinard is learning from one of the best small guys in league history.
You know what? Harvey-Pinard's got a number that just absolutely comes staggering out at you. He's +9 with a team that everybody else is minus. That's not a wow, boy, he's on the ice at the right time. No, there's a reason.
3 goals in his last 2. Here's a shot that through, and Sandstrom made that save on Joel Edmondson's cannon blast from the blue line. Puck came out, played back in offside. Harvey-Pinard scored his first career hat-trick against Columbus just a couple of games ago.
Good for him. Good for him. And you always like to see the small player excel. Right there, another lost face-off, another big shot from the point.
He's Lawton in to take the face-off just outside his own blue line with Delorier and Wade Allison now. Montreal pumps it back in. Sanheim took a peek around it over his shoulder. He's tied up there in the corner, but got it away. Sean Farrell couldn't control that, and Delorier starts out. Gets it across to Braun, jumps ahead to the Montreal line and drives it in deep. That goes around into the left wing corner, but they're going to whistle that down. I think it hit the netting above the glass and blown dead.
You know, the Flyers got out to a real good start, but now all of a sudden they've tailed off. They've only had 4 shots compared to the Montreal Canadiens' 9. So they got to get back to that really successful, support-filled forecheck because they're doing it so much better and using the back of the net as a safety area.
That win in Buffalo last night gave them back-to-back wins for the first time in a month. The last time they won 2 straight games, they had beaten the Flyers here several weeks ago. Centering pass in the Philadelphia end, intercepted by Sanheim, and the Flyers start out. Nick Delorier, long stretch pass cross ice. He missed Wade Allison with that. Montreal tipped it into the circle, picked up by Delorier. Bouncing puck, Provorov had a chance, and he runs into a man. Down low, Montreal gets to it in behind their own goal, and they'll play it into the corner. Chris Tierney in behind his own net. Tierney will leave it for his defense. Joel Edmondson looks up ice and plays on the right side. Barron off a Flyer stick, wide of the Philadelphia net. Ristolainen out of the corner, hit a man with that, and Montreal tried to take advantage of that turnover. Tierney winds it around, but nobody at the right point could get there in time, and so Montreal backs to their own zone. We're past the halfway point of this opening period. Flyers being outshot, as Coach said, 9-4, and neither team has had a power play yet. Here's Evan Provorov through the middle. Bumps it through center, but turned over and picked off. Here's Jake Evans back. He's got a man crisscrossing with him. Gallagher took the shot. He hit the crossbar in behind Felix Sandstrom. That hit iron and stayed out.
Yeah, I don't think Sandstrom saw that. He threw his glove up in the air, kind of ducked a bit just to figure he was going to go over his head and hits the crossbar behind him.
And Riemsdyk outlets. Here's Kevin Hayes. He's got room to skate into the Montreal zone. Stutters on the left wing half wall and then winds it in behind the net. And Riemsdyk turns it to the blue line. D'Angelo back down low. Kiefer Bellows out of the corner. Holds a man off of Hayes' stick. Jam back into the corner, but right to him. Centering pass. And Bellows with a shot. He couldn't get it through. Pouncing on the loose puck. Oh, Fleury had it knocked away from him. And Montreal gets to it. And Harris plays it up the near side. Knocked down to the line. The Flyers come up with the turnover as they set up again outside their own blue line. Just over 8 minutes to play in the opening period. Here's D'Angelo up the middle to Morgan Frost. Bumps it up the left wing. Chased down by Lemieux. He'll chip it off the wall. Philadelphia will get there. Drive it back left point. Here's York going point to point. D'Angelo shot through. And Fleury, Caden Primo rather, made that save. Up of the blue line thrown weakly toward the net. Wade Allison spins it off the wall, but intercepted. Look up, Montreal comes back the other way. Up that left wing, Matheson threw it across the front of the goal mouth. Nobody could get there. Suzuki stumbles, but Harvey Pinard couldn't keep it in the zone. And the Habs come out at center ice, right back to Harvey Pinard. Right wing pass to Suzuki. He is their leading scorer who is in the lineup. Cole Caulfield is the one among the many missing injured players from Montreal. They got 10 or 12 guys out of the lineup right now.
And good players.
Yeah.
They're missing Anderson, Monahan, Caulfield, like you said.
They lead the league in man games lost. They're getting close to 600 this season. On the near side, hammered back in by Nick Cedar. Remo couldn't stop it. Montreal goes back for that. Barron into the near corner, gets it back from Edmondson. Backhands it up the left wing, turnover with the Flyers. Here's Farabee. He'll leave it, jumping in. Oh, and Tippett couldn't get shot through. Out of the corner, Tippett flips it into the circle, but batted away from Farabee. Tippett and Farabee obviously starting to have some chemistry as Lawton gets in there and takes it free and winds it around over to the far half wall. Ball back behind the net, but intercepted by Montreal. Durant couldn't get rid of it. Now the Flyers in front. Here's a shot right on, and Farabee was stopped by Primo. He's got the glove on that and gets it blown dead. We get a timeout on the ice. 6.5 to go in the scoreless first period. Flyers and Habs on the BetRivers.com Flyers Broadcast Network.
Flyers on the BetRivers.com Flyers Broadcast Network.
Hey, Flyer fans, this is Keith Jones. You can trust the physical therapy team at NovaCare Rehabilitation. I did during my playing years. NovaCare is here to get you back to what you love when you are dealing with aches, pains, or an injury. With more than 100 locations throughout the Delaware Valley and South Jersey, visit NovaCare.com.
Did Gallagher hit crossbar or post?
NovaCare is the exclusive provider of physical
I
therapy.
thought it was a crossbar because the way it's Sandstrom ducked, which I thought was kind of embarrassing. He's not supposed to duck.
Get the PF Black Card for just $24.99 a month and get all the perks.
I love perks.
Do you love having access to 2,000 plus locations?
Yes.
Bringing a friend every time?
Hashtag friend goals.
And recovering with massage chairs?
I'm never going to leave.
I don't blame you. Get the PF Black Card and feel spectacular. Only $24.99 a month. See Club for details.
Hey there, Philly. It's hard to decide what's the best part of the Dunkin' Run. Is it the coffee, or the $1 donut, or $2 stuffed bagel minis, or $3 sausage, egg, and cheese that you can add to that coffee, or the fact that you get to leave the office? The answer, of course, is yes. Time for a Dunkin' Run. Great deals on food for $1, $2, or $3 with a medium or larger coffee. America runs on Dunkin'. $3 offer available on sausage, egg, and cheese.
All right, boys, coming back here.
Okay. Donuts and fancies. Offer valid on medium or larger coffee. Pricing in this space
This is Philadelphia Flyers on 97.5 The Fanatic.
Flyers Hometown Assist helping small businesses, including My Fair Trade Lady, providing customers with gifts and clothing and home goods made according to Fair Trade Federation principles. Learn more at fairtradelady.com.
No score here in the opening period. 6.5 to go. Best scoring chance really wasn't officially even a shot. Brendan Gallagher beat Felix Sandstrom. Lit up high. I think that hit the crossbar and stayed out. Lions line up for a faceoff back in the Montreal end. Lawton out with Nick Delorier again. And the Canadiens coughing up in behind their own goal. Delorier pressures. Owen Tippett being double shifted with the other two here. And that's Tippett, Lawton, Farabee. Those are the guys that'll probably get an extra shift every once in a while. Here on the Tierney with a centering pass that caromed off a man in front, went to the far corner. Tippett's got it, and Owen Tippett lays it ahead. Here come the Flyers to center ice, and Sanheim drives it in deep. Far corner, Jordan Harris able to turn and play it away, and here comes Kearney the other way from Montreal. It's actually Jonathan Drouin, and fired in deep behind the net. Into the right wing corner, Sanheim's got a man on him. Montreal trying to drag that puck free, wrap it in behind the goal. And onto the corner now, they get it out right point. Barron goes point to point, back in front, waving at that was Pizzetta, and couldn't get a stick on that, covered up by Felix Sandstrom. Michael Pizzetta scored the shootout winning goal in Buffalo last night. I don't know if you saw the highlight of that, but he went into the full Tiger Williams celly.
Stick between the legs and
riding it.
Yeah. It just skied, and all of a sudden put the stick between your legs and glide.
His teammates were laughing, shaking their head like the kids got some moxie to do that. But he said, hey, I don't know how I'm ever going to end the game again, whether it's a shootout or otherwise.
It's part of the entertainment value.
Provorov after a faceoff win with the Flyers. Lemieux puts it in the middle at center ice. On the move, Morgan Frost just failed to dance by Justin Barron. Lemieux comes up with a turnover at center. Skate back in. He's on the backhand. Swings behind the net. Trying to dump it to a teammate in front. Gallagher broke that up. And Jake Evans cleared to the line, and it did come out at center. Allison was reaching for it. Gallagher's got it again. Brendan Gallagher, he's the guy that Travis Konecny always compared himself to. He was the guy he wanted to be like. And that's a pretty good bar to set for yourself. I think TK is probably a better player now. But Gallagher's had himself a pretty good career, especially considering his size. He's a gritty forward who's got some scoring ability.
Never played the minors. Came right in and made the team.
Jake Evans carries in, cut back into the middle. Tried to get free for a shot, was stick check. Knocked back to the line. David Savard threw it in front, and off of Harvey Pinard, it went to the corner. Mike Hoffman gets there for the Habs. Winds it in behind the net. Harvey Pinard bothered by Cedar, but kept it alive. Suzuki out of the corner, plays it right point. Savard back in front, unable to find Harvey Pinard with that. Suzuki to the blue line. Matheson lost it, and Philadelphia had a chance to break up the ice. Unable to complete a pass ahead, and Tibbett couldn't get that to Tony DeAngelo. Savard takes over inside his own line. A lead pass deflected in, and Philadelphia hustles back. Braun got it into the corner. Sanheim turned it over, now in front, and Suzuki missed the shot. A little touch pass by Sanheim, but in close quarters, that almost ended up in his own net.
I don't know how he got away from coverage there. He's right at the hash mark.
Rolled all the way back into the Montreal end. Primo is there. Flyers' best scoring chance was probably that partial breakaway by Kevin Hayes, and Primo got his stick down and made that save. Again, Primo is winless in his last 10 starts in the NHL. Only one start before tonight this year. Thrown to the net. Sandstrom might have gotten a piece of that. On the far wall, Kiefer Bellows has got it. 3:25 left in this first period. And Montreal settles the loose puck in their own zone. Get it to Gurriel, and Dennis Gurriel lays it up the left wing just out of the reach of Sean Farrell, who's making his NHL debut again tonight. And this is offside, actually icing against Montreal.
I'm just thinking about who Harvard got waxed by. BU? No, it wasn't BU. Quinnipiac.
Quinnipiac, was it? I
Quinnipiac.
don't remember.
Somebody got them pretty good. Well, all the playoffs were really like blowouts. Colgate got beat by Michigan 11-1. Michigan Tech.
Here's Tippett with a shot, and he hit a skate with that in front.
So I wasn't looking there. And Michigan Tech got beat 8-0 by Penn State.
You were at that game, right?
Yeah.
And you were center of the second line?
No, I sat on the bench just like when I played.
Okay. I was going to say you were a -8 that night.
Yeah, it's -8.
Provorov back into his own zone. Swings behind the net. Gets away from Chris Tierney. He's got room to skate all the way to the Montreal line. Gives it up, and Allison's rink-wide pass deflected back into the neutral zone. Flyers jammed that left side. Lawton couldn't get to it. Montreal scoops it back in. Sandstrom out of the net behind the goal to the far wall. Edmondson had it kicked away by Provorov, and Provorov will flip it to center ice. Canadians get there. Not a lot going on. Here's Montreal right back in. On the near wall, Pizzetta back to the point. Oh, nearly picked off as Lemieux couldn't get it out. He would have been off to the races. Savard to the high slot. He gets it down low. There's a shot, and stop was Alex Belzile. Back to the blue line. Savard to Belzile with a shot, and lunging at that. Sandstrom got the blocker on that, knocked it aside. Good opportunity for the Canadiens on their 11th, actually 13th shot of the period. Back the Flyers the other way. Morgan Frost pulls into the left circle. Took the shot. Skate saved by Primo. It laid in front, and Montreal couldn't get to it. Now Primo will cover it as Frost almost surprised Caden Primo. We get a timeout under 2 to go in the first, scoreless on the BetRivers.com Flyers broadcast network.
Flyers on the BetRivers.com Flyers broadcast.
Sorry, I didn't mean to jump on you.
No, I wasn't paying attention. I'm sitting back. I wasn't watching the face-off. Some shit I am. Don't you say anything.
I thought that your Michigan Tech story was great.
Reject child labor and oath.
And I'm disappointed in that team for not being motivated by your sheer presence. An esteemed alumni like you,
would think, right?
Been honored by the team a few times. Those fucking kids don't know how good they had it.
His number's retired there.
I'm aware.
My number's not retired.
Yes, it is. It's in the men's room. It's hanging up.
It's in the. It's on the
stall.
Stall number 2.
It says for a good time, call Coatsy.
Yeah.
And then it's scribbled underneath. Don't bother.
Yeah.
All your Philly sports pods are on NBCSportsPhiladelphia.com.
What if you could get
Who's that
healthcare
supposed to be?
I have no idea.
What if one mRNA discovery could cure multiple diseases? What if we could cure more cancers, stop dementia, and offer treatments so personal they're invented for you alone? At Penn, our history of finding answers comes from our courage to ask big questions.
All right, guys, here we go.
And medicine, turning what if into what's next.
This
My top.
Philadelphia Flyers hockey on 97.5 The Fanatic.
Get your tickets to watch the Flyers face off against the Bruins during the Dollar Ice Cream game presented by Jack and Jill Ice Cream, Sunday, April the 9th, only at PhiladelphiaFlyers.com.
So we know where to look. We can't find you.
See, I'm not an ice cream eater.
Really?
No, I'll go out of my way to find a beer.
Yeah.
But ice cream, no, that's not my hit parade.
Okay. That surprises me. Face-offs back in the Montreal end. We're scoreless. Minute 47 left in the period. Flyers been outshot 13-7. And again, the final game of the 7-game homestand. Boy, what a homestand it's been. 3 goals or more scored by the Flyers in all of the first 6. Hayes, Tippett, and Van Riemsdyk now on the draw. It's Champion behind the net. Flyers got to it. Van Riemsdyk chipped it off the wall. He's forced into the corner. Tippett unable to find it. Gallagher will for Montreal. And here's Jake Evans skating to center. Evans cut back into the middle, stripped of the puck, and Philadelphia in transition now. Braun's going to come back the other way, pull up in the Montreal zone, lay it behind the goal line, and Hayes trying to reach around a man, wrapped it in behind the net, but JVR couldn't control. Matheson plays that away to center. Braun from the red line will drive it back in, but Philadelphia's changing. Now in behind the net, Van Riemsdyk spins it in front. Montreal a little lax, left that puck in behind the goal, and JVR got there. He just didn't have a teammate in front. Right through the middle. Here's Farabee over the line. Drop pass Hayes. Hayes wide shoots it off a stick. Matheson deflects it up and out of play.
Matheson does a great job here because it becomes a 2-on-2. The only difference is not 2 cutting across. It's Farabee going to the net, taking the defenseman with him, but now you got Hayes as the trailer, and Matheson came over and took that completely away on a good play. A lot of defensemen get stuck on the other side and don't get active.
Big face-off here with a minute left in the period. Flyers still 30th in the league on the draws. It does go to the corner. Farabee kept it alive. Cates to the blue line. Ristolainen point to point. Here's Sanheim. Threw it in front looking for the carom. And Farabee almost deflected that by.
I think it hit the inside of the left pad and went straight right off the primo.
Here's Farabee behind the net. Gives it off in front, and it went right by Cates before he could throw it on goal. Here's Montreal back in on the attack. Hoffman a centering pass into the goal crease. Went to the corner. Suzuki bagged it in front, and Hoffman tried to find a teammate on the right side. Kovacevic, the defenseman, couldn't drive it in deep. Flyers get it out. Farabee to the Montreal line. He's got a man driving the net. Bellows off his stick. Here's Sanheim. Backhand couldn't tuck it around. Primo as the Canadiens clear. Travis Sanheim jumping into the play, and that's what happens. He almost had the first goal of the game right there. 7 seconds left. Flyers probably not going to get back up the ice, and so the horn will sound in this first period. Uneventful as it was at times, comes to an end. Flyers outshot 13-9.
That's a classic example of why Harvey Pinard is +9. He does a great job. Sanheim goes blowing by, but right at the last second, he has the ability to be able to take care of it.
No score after 1 period of play. The Flyers and the Canadiens. Stay tuned. Our first intermission coming up. Jason Martinez and Brian Smith will have that after these words on the BetRivers.com Flyers Broadcast Network.
Flyers hockey. Rivers.com Flyers Broadcast Network.
Lowe's MVP's bonus days are back for pros. Right now, buy a DeWalt 20-volt max power.
All right, Pat, I have Jason up.
Select DeWalt Bare Tool free. Plus, earn 3 times the bonus points on all the top HPT tools and products. Shop even more savings and bonus points offers during MVP's bonus days at Lowe's. Bonus points calculated before taxes and fees after applicable discounts event. 320 through 331. Subject to change. Selection varies by location. While supplies last. Discount taken at time of purchase. Visit Lowe's.com/MVP's bonus points for details.
Hey, it's Cuz. There's no better way to kick off spring than
All right, I got you both.
on your new Nissan. That's right. We have an
Thank you.
extensive selection of new and pre-owned vehicles.
Jason's probably taping an interview.
Now, lease offer starting as low as $249 a month. Available right now.
How's there to talk about in that interview?
Plus, you'll receive more cash for your trade, no matter the make or the model. Don't miss March Mania savings going on right now at Peruzzi Nissan. Offer on select models with credit. Lease based on the new 2023 Nissan Frontier. VIN number PN637875. Lease selling price $35,060. Deal for details.
Do you have taxiety? That nervous feeling when you realize it's tax time again, but you don't know how much it could cost you? Don't wait until the last minute to file. Liberty Tax will help you get your maximum refund at our lowest possible price. Our professional services start at just $69. File your taxes today online at libertytax.com or schedule an
Hey, Pat, I'm going to send you Nick.
Send it to Ray Dunn.
For the interview?
Highlights. Did you hear me?
For the interview?
Yeah, because he'll put it in the folder.
Okay, let me see if I have his email.
My name is Brian, Dr. Brian Maiden to many, dad to a few. I was driving from Richmond to my house in Northern Virginia. And
first.
engine oil light came on.
Who is it?
Nick Delaria.
Pouring it into the engine. And I knew
Ray.
I started doing it.
I don't have his email. Do you know what it is?
Yeah, it should be. I don't know a lot about cars.
AAA for all of us. Hey, shopping for supplies. Quickly.com stocks the essentials for any home business or beyond. Food service packaging, kitchen supplies, catering essentials. We've got that. Cleaning supplies.
It is Raymond.
Just kidding.
Dunn.
Anyway,
just DUNNE at BDGI.com.
.com in mind.
Raymond.Dunn at BDGI.
Surfside Iced Tea and Vodka, the official drink of Philly sports fans, is now available in the Wells Fargo Center. Surfside has the perfect blend of fresh brewed iced tea and Philly's own stateside vodka. Each can has just 100 calories and 2 grams of sugar, and it's not carbonated, because iced tea should never have bubbles. So go get your sunshine in a can, now available at the Wells Fargo Center and wherever you buy vodka.
Will you tell Smitty it is Nick Delaria 105?
This is the Flyers Report with Jason Martinez and Brian Smith on the Flyers Broadcast Network.
Flyers Montreal Canadiens are scoreless after one period of play here at Wells Fargo Center as they wrap up a 7-game homestand. It's off to Ottawa tomorrow for a matchup with the Senators on Thursday. It's an up and back for the Flyers as they'll be right back here against the Buffalo Sabres on Saturday night. That's a back-to-back. Sunday coming up, it's going to be a game in Pittsburgh that starts off a 4-game road trip next week for the Flyers. So lots ahead for you here over the course of this coming week on the Flyers Broadcast Network. A first period, Jason, that was fairly uneventful, I guess you could say. It was just one of those disjointed periods, a lot of difficulty getting things going. Kind of came together a little bit there in the